Lead Girl, the Be Well podcast is your dedicated platform for amplifying the voices of Black women in various roles, whether you're a teacher, school leader, higher educational professional, or educational consultant.
Join us as we honor the stories of remarkable Black women and share insights from our distinctive journeys in education and life.
Tune in as we explore the topics that resonate with us as women, as members of the Black community, and champions in education. Welcome to Lead Girl, the Be Well podcast, where we amplify the voices of Black women in educational leadership.
We are your hosts, Trelane
and Jocelyn.
Happy Sunday, Jocelyn. We are back. How are you?
I am great, amazing. I'm always looking forward to our Sunday talks and really hearing from so many powerful women in the U.S. And so it is really a pleasure to be here, and can't wait till we dive into this topic. Because I've been singing a song in the back of my head already, so it may come out in a moment.
I think I've been playing it all week. It's just been like, oh God. So listen, I have to say this. This is not an actual part of the intro, but I had the opportunity to spend some quality time with our guest today, Dr. Kendra, just a few weeks ago at a conference that we were both at. And I'm so happy that she said yes to this, because I'm just like, okay, I get to have more of you. So I can't wait. We are in for a treat. So in this episode, we're going to be meeting Dr. Kendra Washington Bass. We're going to explore the bag lady concept. That's the song,
That's right.
Bag lady. Okay, that's my all right.
See, it's already started.
Oh, gosh. So the bag lady concept is a powerful idea that examines the invisible weight Black women carry every day, the expectations, responsibilities, and judgments placed upon them. And these bags may hold struggle and vulnerability, but they also contain strength, resilience, and hope. And this is a piece that I am so excited to explore today. So our guest is an author and educator who not only studies this concept, but lives it. Through her work, she invites us to look deeper, to name the burdens we carry, and the stories we hold, and the freedom that comes when we choose to unpack them. Dr. Kendra Washington Bass. Jocelyn, how about you tell us who our guest is today?
Yes, Dr. Kendra Washington Bass is the co-founder and chief encouragement officer of the Lucy Leadership Project and co-author of Unwrapped, the Pursuit of Justice for Women Educators. She partners with educational leaders to strengthen leadership, well-being, and professional growth. With experience as a district administrator, principal, and teacher, Kendra empowers leaders to navigate complex systems, reclaim their narratives, and lead with purpose. She facilitates workshops, coaching, and book clubs that inspire meaningful change in education, and how we all need to have this in our atmosphere, in our being. So super excited to have you here to join us today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited about this conversation. It's been on my mind for months, this idea of the bag lady concept. So I'm glad to continue to talk about it, because right now it is very weighty. The bags are very weighty right now. We're seeing it happen across the country to Black women. So yeah, I'm ready to dive in and sort of unwrap what it means.
Excellent.
Unintended.
I love that. So we heard just a little bit about you. I know that there's so much more to you, but can you just kind of share a little bit about where you are, what kind of keeps you busy every day, what you're doing out here in the world?
Yeah, so I currently live in the state of Georgia. And as I was sharing a little bit earlier, I literally, just drove into my garage maybe about an hour ago from my business partner, Kelly Peaks Horner. We are the co-founders of Lucy Leadership Project. We were together this past weekend. And, I think one of the things that outside of the bio that I think is important, that frames this conversation, and that's why this is kind of a full circle moment. I come from a long line of women who have been in charge charge of family, charge of decision making, charge of finances. My family originally came from Virginia, the Richmond area of Virginia, and migrated to the New York City area. But the story, a little anecdote that sort of frames this conversation, is about the eldest of the 9 siblings that moved to New York. The eldest of the 9, her name was Vivian Griffin, and she was my great grandmother. And as a little girl growing up, do you want to know what her nickname was? Bag.
Oh
Her
no.
nickname was Bag. And the reason why that was her nickname, because she was known to carry tons of bags. We would watch her come off of the city bus to our apartment, and we could see her from the window, and she always had a bag. She also had, now this is kind of dating us, maybe dating me. She also had a bag pinned to the inside of her girdle, is where she kept the money, or bags inside her bosom where she kept important papers and money. And so this concept of the bag lady holds a lot of historical um, uh, uh, um, sort of background around what it means for women to carry things and why that's important. So there's the figurative carrying of weight, but there's also the literal carrying of things. And I'll sort of unpack that a little bit as we go through the conversation.
All right. Well, you know, whenever in our community, when we hear the bag lady concept, the song is always playing in our mind, and like you said, figuratively
Yep.
speaking, but it's a real concept, a real experience, something that really holds true to us. And for
Mhm.
those who maybe we have a younger generation listening. Maybe they don't know what song I'm referring to, or maybe
Yeah.
we have a
Yeah.
diverse audience that just wants to tune into us today and learn about Black women in educational leadership and may
Yeah.
not understand this concept fully. So, um, for our audience, could you define the concept specifically for some who may not know? And
Mhm.
also, how did you really come to engage in the work around it?
Yeah. So the song that Dr. Mack is referring to is Bag Lady by Erykah Badu, who's, a prolific sort of neo soul poet, um, singer, rap artist. She's a DJ from Philly, and in the song, she describes, the bag lady. You want to put that down, right? She's talking about the weight, all the things that we carry. That concept is not a new concept, right? Um, and it's not, I would say it's not particular to Black women, but it definitely has a different meaning for Black women because of the different intersectionalities around it. So this concept of a bag lady is one who is, she's always carrying, um so in a figurative sense, she's carrying the weight of her ancestors. She's carrying the weight of having to do better, having to do best, having to do it all, having to do it right, having to do it, period. And it is the work, it is raising a family, it is showing up as a representative of an entire race, of entire gender, of entire culture. And then there's the literal weight of carrying the bags. For many of our older generations, there was lots of mistrust in government, federal agencies, bankings. So women carried all of their possessions. We're seeing that now happen in our Latinx communities as our immigrant families are right now scared, right? They're carrying papers with them. They're carrying their birth certificates, their citizenship papers. They're carrying everything with them. And what comes with that is anxiety and stress. And so you have this other weight. So there's 3 different types of weights, right? There's the physical weight of carrying bags of your stuff, because you just never know when it's going to leave you, right? It's the important papers, it's your identity, it's the things that you hold, your treasures you hold. Then there's this proverbial weight of a bag where you're carrying sort of your family, your culture, your identity on your back, knowing that people are trying to strip that from you. So you're holding on for dear life. And then that manifests that into physical carrying of a bag. And that turns into anxiety, stress, heart disease, mental illness, emotional distress, ulcers, back pain, sleepless nights. And while that sounds foreboding, in there, we're also carrying hopes and dreams. We're carrying, like, with us the memories that we are strong, with us the faith that we have, with us. It's like bearing a cross. It's heavy, and yet you are hoping that what you're doing is not in vain, and that in the end, whatever is left in that bag is something you can pass on, that treasure, to another generation. And what has happened is we've passed it on. And we've also passed on the anxiety and the stress. And so how do we even move from the weight that has been carried from my ancestors, from my great grandmother bag, to now? Like, I am learning to put down some of that weight. I'm learning that I don't need to carry that at this point. But that takes growth and exercise in your own faith and your well-being and your boundary setting in order to even put down the bags, because we feel like we can't. It's a constant struggle of doing that. So to answer your question, sort of in summary, there's like three things there. And that bag, that weight, is ancestral, and ancestral in this country specifically. I mean, we're talking about, 1619 to now.
Mm-hmm. And it being ancestral is, feels that in and of itself feels odd, right? Because the way you broke this down in terms of these three different types of weight, we didn't necessarily choose to pick up the bags.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. The bag, that's survival. It's survival. So the bag also is home. So if you think about, what people would call homeless, unhoused right now, when you think of or see images of those individuals or children who are going into foster care, there's something even about the bag that they have. It's your possessions, right? It is very symbolic. Those material things have great meaning, but beyond the symbolism, there is something about having something that's yours. There's a sense of protection. There's a sense of armor when you have those bags. So while some of those bags hold weight, some of those bags also hold what is important to you. And sometimes we can't even decipher what is important and what needs to be let go, because they're all important in moments of chaos, moments of stress, when we can't see clearly, which is why Black women tend to, we pick up more bags. Sometimes we pick up other people's bags. We shouldn't be picking them up.
Well,
I'm like, what are we doing? We going in and we are swooping in. We're so conditioned to be fixers, and we have been tapped to be fixers. In families, in politics. I'll just say 2020 during COVID, the number of Black women mayors, the number of Black women in political positions during that time to clean up what was happening. And then when we cleaned up, we were tossed away. We were like, thank you. Thanks for picking it up. Yeah. So there was a song in the past too. It was called "The Cleanup Woman." We the cleanup woman. We the bag lady. I like, good gracious. And I did a post earlier. I was like, and we're seen as weak, and we're seen as unintelligent, and we're seen as not knowing what to do. I'm like, we are the cleanup bag ladies. And I know for the Black women who are listening, either it's you, it's your mother, it's your aunt, it's your daughter. it is, this is who we are. And yet it's not who we are.
Mm. Wow.
And that is hard. Again, there's this conversation. It's timely for me to even begin to unwrap it in my head that we are carrying. And I'm not talking about Mary Poppins. See the difference between a Mary Poppins bag lady, right? She had tricks and sugar and all that and spice and everything nice. With Erica Badu bag lady was totally different.
Yeah.
Two different ideologies around our weights, white women and black women.
Wow.
Yeah.
That I'm sitting here thinking about my grandmother, who she often had lots of bags, right? But she had her bags, her purses would be
Yes.
like stylish bags, right? And I totally inherited that from her because I love bags, but not just any bag. I love big bags.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. Was that something that like not only did I inherit that particular liking, right? But did that have something to do with me psychologically around carrying the things? And she always have what you need. Make
That's
sure
right.
you got
Yes.
safety pins in your bag. Make sure you got some lotion, you got some tissue. It's those small things because they could literally make or break your day in her world. And when she was younger, she needed to have those things. So this is pretty deep.
It is interesting. And of course, I'm thinking about my mother who does not call it like a purse. She still call it a pocketbook. It's not even a pocketbook, right? It's a pocketbook.
Pocketbook.
You got to say it right. It's pocket. It's a pocketbook. And you better not put that pocketbook on the floor.
Oh, no.
Right, right. A pocketbook. No. Trelane, you and I sat next to each other. I was like, where is the chair to put our pocketbooks on?
Exactly.
Because you can't even put it, right? And you're right. You just said it. Like the bigger the bag, because it's all the things you want to put in it just in case you need it. This idea of this bag holding the things that you need. There is safety in that bag. And yet, I will pick up your bag, Trelane, or I'll pick up your bag, Dr. Mack, and I'm like, good God, is there an anvil in here? What is in here? And you're like, you don't even know what's in there. I found money in old bags. I was like, oh my God, this is my old Social Security card back in the 70s. That is where it was, in that bag. There's so much that goes in the bag. And I think, it's time to really audit our bags. What is in there and why do we have it in there?
Oof.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes we keep it in there too long, or we forgot that, we have it
exactly.
in the
bag. Exactly. What's in there? I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whew. Over to you, Jocelyn.
So I mean, we kind of dived into this. So, how have you seen this weight, I guess, manifest into the lives of so many other Black women leaders, teachers, coaches, directors, especially when we're thinking about the educational spaces?
Oh, sure. So, there's lots of work that we do in Lucy Leadership Project about examining sort of the trajectory of women in leadership. And we typically see, this is not unlike other industries, but I think it's interesting in the education industry where there's created salary steps, right? So you would think, is there a disparity in pay in education? There shouldn't be, right? Because everyone should have the same salary step if you have this type of degree or this level of experience. And there is a huge equity pay gap in education among men and women, and specifically Black men and women. And where that starts is typically how we are conditioned to think about our trajectory and leadership in education. We typically stay in elementary schools, which are predominantly female, versus our secondary schools, which you can see more male. there. Yet you also see us doing a lot of volunteer work, a lot of
Oof.
giving of our time.
Yes.
We come in a little early just because it's service. And then we add on top of this idea of us as women being nurturers. Our male counterparts typically get paid supplements for coaching, supplements for taking on special education, like supplements and things of that nature. And in the secondary schools, those schools actually, principals and leaders make more money than your elementary schools. So here we are, majority of us in elementary school, we kind of gift our talents and expertise. Our male counterparts get paid for coaching and additional services, and then they track more quickly into leadership positions and eventually into superintendency. As women and as Black women, we tend to want to check every last box. We want to get an additional degree, an additional certification, and that adds to the weight. We're not even realizing we're carrying another bag. And that is usually like, service and volunteerism and from the goodness of my heart. And then people see that and create an archetype of how we show up. And they create these expectations for us. And we typically go, no, I got it. We don't ever want to look like we're going to break, right?
Right.
So now you're looking at this juxtaposition of the strong Black woman. And on the inside, we cracking. On the inside, we just barely keeping it together. And that happens in education. We see the kids before us, especially our most minoritized kids, and we see ourselves sometimes in those students. And we want to do what's best. I mean, I think that's why most people are drawn to education. They know it is a calling. They know it is a service, a service calling. And there is something honorable about it. That's why I wanted to get into teaching. But I can't help a child if I am barely keeping myself together. If my cup is so depleted, the cup is dry, it got lint in it. It's dry, it's gonna crack. It's so much dust in it. It's that dry. And we typically run on empty, and we use that sometimes, unbeknownst to us, as a badge of honor. And that's how we tend to have people treat us. And then when we're collapsed in the hospital, because we fainted, we didn't have any water, we had no sleep, we are full of worry, we didn't complain, we get a little rest, we get a little, the IV shot, and we're right back at it. And our male counterparts are just rocking and rolling. I could tell you this one anecdote. A married couple that I know, educators, they both were principals in the school district. I mean, he told her, he was like, why are you doing all of that work? He was like, I come when it's time to come to work and I'm leaving. That's what I got assistant principals and stuff for. And she was like, what do you mean? I got to get here. I got to do this. He totally was like, you are out of your mind for doing this. What is wrong with you? Why aren't you using your people? And it's like, yeah, you might be the principal or the assistant principal or the instructional coach, but you're not the only one in a school. You have a team. We don't even use our team. We are doing the work of the team too. We're doing the work of the APs. We're doing our work. Heck, sometimes we are volunteering 1,000 times. There is this idea of scarcity that if we don't do something, we're not going to get picked. Well, you're not going to be picked if you're in the casket. You can't get picked when all of a sudden you deteriorate. And, learning, I think after 2020 and that moment of quiet, that moment of racial reckoning, that moment of understanding like the workforce as what it was, and seeing the number of women who continue to be caregivers in that moment, it really like jolted me going to, this is really not right. This is really sick. We are definitely living to work. And that bag, that's another bag, the live to work bag. We just get our lives are consumed by work. And that definitely is a Western and capitalistic ideology. I understand that, but that is what we do. And that's what is also the weight. The other piece I'll say, and then I'll pause for a minute, is, as Black women, the stereotype is something we also have embraced. We have embraced the gotta do it better in. It's perceived and it's real. And sometimes we can't even separate the perception from the reality and be able to say no. I was so afraid of saying no. I was so afraid that I wanted to be considered the acceptable Black person, someone you weren't afraid of, someone who could roll with you. And even in doing that, that still didn't make me acceptable in the eyes of many, right? Maybe people who knew me, but in the end, I was like, why am I doing this? When I got to the other side of it, I realized I could have actually bet on myself so much earlier in my life and still would have been whole versus trying to actually put the pieces of myself back together. Now I don't have as many bags that I hold, but it took, sometimes it takes someone else or an event to happen to wake you up. An event happened that woke me up from it. And I started to put down some of my bags. I'm much lighter than I used to be, less stressed than I used to be, much more joyous in my life than I used to be. I'm loving who I am, where before I was fighting to find who I was. That's a whole different type of bag. So much so, Dr. Mac, I don't have like a purse. I have this thing. It just has my phone in and some credit card. That's it. That's all I carry.
Yep, right here.
Yes,
Same thing.
that's it. That is it. That is all I carry. And I get dresses with pockets now. I'm like, if it has pockets, then I'll just put my phone in my pocket and I'll rubber band my little credit cards and put it in the other pocket. That's it. Come on, Charlene, you could do it.
I did just buy a small bag, but I can't carry that every day, everywhere. It's not, I can't do it. But I mean, and that was so helpful what you were just talking about. And then yes, there's so much in this feels so weighty, but at the same time, there's also some beauty in this. And I want to see if you can, share with us some of, whether your lived experiences or other experiences from other women that you've come in contact with, like where's the strength and the wisdom in this whole idea of the bag lady concept?
Yeah. So it really starts with community. I think part of getting lighter, there's a couple of things. One is examining your own bags, right? Take a look at your bags. What are you carrying? And then why are you carrying those things? Right? You have to name the thing, and you have to really name it. Don't BS name it, right? I'm like, well, no. Name, you're carrying this, you're holding this because usually we're getting something out of it, whether it is this feeling that we're needed, maybe this idea that we're significant, maybe it's how we're seeing our worth. Like there's a reason why we're carrying some things. And some things, they're just sacrifice. We're parents. If you're a parent or a caregiver, that is a weight to carry. That's not perceived. That's a real weight. So that's understandable. But there's other things that we tend to hold on to and not share. So understanding that. And then who are the people in your life that are your support systems? Instead of carrying things, I'm thinking about your relationships to others. Are you carrying love? Are you carrying your faith? Right? So when you're examining your bag and it's like stuff versus some of the intangibles, love, friendship, community, your health, Like, where is that in your bag? And typically they're way down in the bottom. Sometimes you can't even find them. So I'll use myself as an example. When I shifted from working in a district and then working from home, the one thing I knew I was going to miss is my connection to people. One of our values at Lucy Leadership Project is community. In fact, we're creating unwrapped communities for a reason, because isolation and this idea that it's only me adds to the weighted bag. And it also adds to the stresses. I mean, we saw this in 2020 with the shutdown. People, the residuals of that isolation and people being alone, it's still happening. We see it from our young folks who just didn't have some of those social interactions. And school is a great place where you get it, right? So our kindergartners who weren't able to go to kindergarten, or you just starting high school, those formative teenage years and adolescence, when you're really exploring your identity and you're doing it from a couch behind a computer, that interaction, or in unsafe spaces where those interactions were unhealthy. So I knew I needed those interactions. So I created it. I was like, I'm not going to wait for someone to give me the community. And here I'm going to curate my own community. I'm going to be around women of color, specifically Black women who I love, I trust, I honor, who are givers, and also who can be given to. Like, you know, we're all in different paths. And it started with, I looked at, you know, most of us have dining rooms and we rarely use it. We use it to pile mail on, drop bags. Everything but food on in the dining room, right? And I have an 8-seat dining table, and I said I want to invite 7 other women to complete the table. So I went into my phone, I picked it up, and I was like, all right, let me see, 7 women, and I was like, okay, it got to 40, and I was like, all right, I have 40 women that I can invite to my home. Let me just see what happens. I was like, here's this idea. I want to do something called a Sister Saturday. And I want to invite you. I want to cook a meal for you. And I want us to talk about the things that we can talk about. I want you to not feel like you have to be somebody else. I don't want you to feel like you have to dress a different way. I want you to come as you are. Take the mask, the costume, all that stuff off. Come into the home. Let's see what happens. Well, 30 of the 40 showed up. Wow. That was 3 years ago. And I do it once a month in my house. I cook and we have a topic we talk about. And the community that has been curated and created it's safe, it's loving. It's a way to explore the stuff in the bags and to have people to talk it through and to find the connections of folks who can help you unpack that bag or add the love and the people in it that will make it lighter. Like, replace the physical stuff with the intangible things that actually keep us alive, keep us sane, keep us inspired, keep us moving forward, especially in this moment of chaos, in this moment that can feel weighty. Yeah, it sucks right now. And yet I'm still smiling. Like, I can easily go into that dark space, but I have love in my life. I have community in my life. I have a purpose in my life. And that has what's been replaced in this bag of hustling and trying to protect something that I just needed to let it go. So that's what I replaced it with. And I think that's something that we all can examine. Like, who are the people? Are you living in your purpose? Do you have your community? And do you have love?
Sister Saturday.
Sister Saturday.
I know, look, Sister Saturday, I think I took that away, but I would definitely say you were speaking to me through all of it. I mean, through everything, from caring so much to, especially me, I volunteer a lot in different spaces, and I want to show up and I want to support. But then, when I do that, I also find community, because a lot of times I don't,
Yes.
in the work that I do, I'm alone.
Yeah.
Especially I'm a single parent, trying to provide for my family and create a legacy. My adult son is autistic, and I
Mm.
want him not to worry about having to work and those different things, or creating
Yes.
a new space just for him. I mean, that's a bag in itself, because if I weren't here, then what happens, right?
Right.
And but that causes me to carry more bags, because I'm trying to find ways to close those gaps, and in creating that legacy. And then I find myself always wanting to give, always. And it's, you get stretched. Now, I will say, working from home definitely has allowed me to kind of be more
Mhm.
flexible,
Yeah.
with how I manage that, versus going to report and sit at a desk from 9 to 5, or work in a school system. But I think it's really important that, like you, I wish I would have identified this early on. I'm just now
Hmm.
starting to really reevaluate myself in my 40s, and that's how many years have gone by that I could have been better at this, to get to a better point in my
Hmm.
life. And so it's so much. So you spoke to me, and I love the idea of the sister Saturdays. I love the idea. I'm just thinking about an exercise, if because I'm too. I'm working on another project called I Am Her,
Hmm.
and looking for people to, like, support women in reaffirming themselves and reminding that we are her. But then I think the exercise of the bag lady, like, what do we have in our bags? Have we really reflected and see, like, how many are we carrying? And within one bag, what is that level? Like you were saying, something's at the bottom, like
Yeah.
your wellness, your health, your community, maybe further down than it needs to be, with all these things piled on top. And so
Hmm.
I definitely felt, and I'm hoping that anyone else is watching, is, kind of being able to take a moment to reflect and on their bags, and just thinking through the power of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was something, I mean, when you talked about your own specific experience, we might not be able to unpack everything in the bag, right? That's not the goal. It's to just help it to be a little bit lighter and really, I mean, go in there and examine what you are holding. And you don't have to be the only one holding the bags, right? I mean, somebody else could pick up another handle here.
Yeah.
And sometimes we covet me, 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 me. I could do it all by myself. I got it, I got it, I got it. That was my famous line. I got it, 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 I got it. My husband was like, Kendra, I'm coming. I got it, I got it, I got it. Right? Because I was thinking that's a sign of weakness if I don't got it.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, I really don't got it, but I can't let you know that I don't got it. And I'm fumbling and trying to figure out how to get it while I'm saying I got it. Or this idea of I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And we not fine. We just don't speak the truth for many reasons. And I don't judge around that. And you said, in your 40, there's a reason why you're having this journey.
Mm.
There's moments that are going to shock you into going back and go, and that's why. There's a lesson to be learned. So I don't want you to dismiss. Like I at one point I used to like, oh man, I could have. I wouldn't be where I was if those things didn't happen, because now I
Right.
really can see. I really can see.
The thing that and all of that, definitely. But once you identify
Yep.
or answer those questions that you pose to us, what's in your bag? Why is it in your bag? Why are you continuing to carry it? So this idea of like of the unpacking or the unwrapping, right? Once you identify it, then the steps of how to do that, I think,
Mhm.
are what can really kind of get in the way, right? Because I can
Yep.
say, I know that I'm holding this thing, but I might not even be able to tell you why,
Right.
right? There's a lot of that has to happen. But then if I am able to identify why, then there's a whole other process to actually do the letting go. So like
Yeah.
how do you do that? I think that's a big piece that
Oh
I'm
yeah.
sure many of my audience are like, yeah, I know I got it, but I don't know how to let it go, you know.
Okay, so and I don't have the answers to that question because each person has there's idiosyncrasies to that. For some people, to help them know what to do next requires some therapy. And we got to be okay with like so I need actual expert help and therapy in these because it could be trauma related to it. It could be things that you haven't been able to wrestle with in the past, or you really don't know, and an expert can kind of help pull that out, right? There's some things that you need to have conversations with um, a loved one to kind of help you get through that. For example, like for me, and this is probably I know for sure I'm not alone in this, but every family has secrets. Every family has the skeletons. And the one thing that me and my mother, my husband, my children, my brother, like my immediate core family, we decided we were going to break this cycle of these secrets, of not like sharing something, right? It was always you hear about a cousin. It was like, well, so what happened to that cousin, like who went down south? What happened? They went down south. We're like, what was the thing, right? That happened, or they're dealing with an illness, but no one wants to say what it is. And we were like, we got to break that cycle because we can't help each other. You can't support each other if you're gonna keep a secret like that, right? So no secrets. And it's funny because we have a family Zoom and my brother always go, I have a secret. His secrets are so bad though that we're like, that's not even juicy. But he was like, I got a secret. Last week, blah, blah, blah happened, right? So it's a running joke when he says he has a secret. But we're like, let's be open and honest about things that are happening with us. I'm stretched in right now with finances. Like it's really bad in this nation around, federal employees and stuff like that. So my family knows that, right? They got to know that. I'm not going to sit back here and pretend like we ain't struggling because you know what? Everyone's struggling. In communities, I don't know if this is familiar to you all, but there used to be something called susus. Everyone will put money in, right? Everyone brings like some money, put them in a pot, and then you circle it around to the family members. Each month, everyone got a chunk of that money. Okay, well, this might be a time for a susu, right? But if you don't say something, then people can't help you. So we had to knock down the weight that we got it, because sometimes sister don't got it, and you have to be able to tell people that's vulnerability.
Yeah.
That's actually brave to actually come out and say to somebody, to your loved ones, to your sisters, y'all, I don't got it, or I'm not good. I started doing blogs and writing more, putting it out, like sharing my ups and downs, right? It's not simple. It's not, my life is not just a snapshots on social media. So I write and talk about the good, the bad, and other. I think there was one it was just the worst year. It started out with the murder of my aunt, a murder suicide, January 4th. And then a devastating work like event where a contract just got pulled like the end of that month. And then it was followed by like a new opportunity. And then we had the death of someone. It was the worst. And I could have just kept it right here and been saying I'm fine. Nope. I shared it. I wrote about it. I was like, you know what, y'all? I sucked this month. I did something terrible, or I was in that moment where I felt like I'm not doing the right thing. I'm really questioning myself. I'm like, let me model what vulnerability looks like as a Black woman and still be empowered. Like it didn't take away my worth. It actually was very therapeutic to actually say those things and to hear how people responded. Because I know that for some people, how I move, I know I'm a role model for others. And so if I'm going to be constantly lying to them that everything is, ponies and rainbows and roses, that's not it, right? And what you see now is didn't happen yesterday. Like this took some work and crying and all that other stuff and second guessing, and it still happens. So, part of that transformation is honesty. So therapy, being honest, and yes, once you've unpacked that, Trelane, you have some choices because it's in your face now. You got something to do with it. You can go back and be like, I'm going to pretend like it never happened. That is your choice. You are more than welcome to do that. Know there are consequences to that. You can go get therapy and get yourself back on track or get yourself in a new trajectory of health and prosperity and purpose. You can find connections and start building the love, and you can do all of those things. That's not going to be easy and doesn't happen overnight. But you can get there, and you have choices once you unpack it. And one of the things that Kelly and I do is talk to women about your origin story, like what made you, and you'll start to see the items in the bag as you go all the way back, like from the time that you were introduced to this planet, to this earth, to this world, to now. You'll start to see what you've been picking up along the way in the bag and why it's been, and it will be hard to do. But again, therapy, your own self sort of talk and taught, and support and love can get you there. And then what other things that individuals who have pieces in their bag that I'm just not familiar with will have to work out.
That's super, super duper helpful. Super duper helpful. I think we could go, we could continue on this. There's literally so much to unpack and unwrap about this, right? And this has been so incredibly helpful. It seems to me, and it makes sense that this is a deeply individual and personal journey, right? Yep. For any person, right, who might feel like they are carrying a bag or bags of things. But I was curious though, as we have obviously many different folks watching and many educators, I wondered about like whether or not the institutions and the organizations that we are a part of, should we expect them to participate in this process? Should we, how much vulnerability is necessary or encouraged on that side? Because oftentimes, as you mentioned, like, we're at work, it's like, work. We're not doing anything personal at work. It is all about the work. But how do our organizations have a responsibility to respond when they understand that that this is emotional labor, and this these invisible bags are definitely impacting how Black women in particular show up in the workplace?
Absolutely. Employers have a responsibility, right? They're employing people to do a job. A great example, well, I don't know if it's a great example, but a recent example with the current government shutdown, the president has finally said he is going to allow the armed forces to get paid. And the rationale behind that, which could be used in education, but the rationale behind that is, here are people who are on the front lines trying to protect the safety of the citizens of this country. And you don't want them worrying about how their families are going to be fed while they're trying to protect this country. It's a distraction, right? So we don't want them distracted. So think about an education institution who is supposed to help, build the minds and the bodies and the skills of its future workforce. It's an education institution. You don't simply teach content, you teach a person through content. Well, the adults need the same type of care. And really effective leaders care for the person. They see the human dignity in a person. And they ensure that the people have what they need to do the job. And that's more than just the materials. It's the working conditions environment. That's why, as a principal, Trelane, as a principal, you create the working conditions, right? It's school, we call it school culture. But people have what they need, they get feedback, they get all those things. Well, well-being is tied all in there. The invisible labor is in there. If people feel like they are, an example would be a way of doing work in education is we typically reward teachers who've been around a long time with like your gifted classes, and then you give the newbies, the students who need the most experienced teachers, right? That's a gift. And it's like, are you kidding? That is so backward. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you're burning out your newbies because they have not yet become expert. Your expert teachers are not even being activated for their real gifts that could help those kids. And usually we leave them alone. And they're like, I don't get any feedback, right? And you might think they want to be left alone, but talent goes to a place where talent is cultivated.
Wow.
So imagine that's on a simple sort of a look at sort of how we do education, how we treat teachers. Now juxtapose that with sort of cultural norms and stereotypes and tropes on top of that. And you get the weight, right? We see what happens to special education classrooms where we hiring men basically to discipline Black boys and Latinx boys, to police their bodies, not teach them. So that's a stereotype, that's a trajectory they're on, right? We stay in, again, come early, stay late, all of those other things. Those are rewards. So yeah, it is intertwined, right? Schools are a microcosm of the larger society. We are teaching kids to be in the lanes of those tropes. We're teaching young girls what it means to be a young girl, and we're teaching young boys what it means to be a boy. And that means, boys wear blue and girls wear pink, and boys do math and girls do reading. Like we actually put them on that trajectory, and then they become us sitting on a podcast talking about the weight. It didn't happen, last year. This is conditioned from the time that we enter school in our communities and our neighbors. So we have cultural norms and tropes, and then those get translated into schooling, and schools perpetuate it or layer additional ones on it, and we just feed the engine of it. So yes, school systems have a duty, but that also requires disruption of the system.
That sounds like another podcast, ma'am.
Yep. You can bring me back next year if you want to talk about disrupting the school system, and we can go all into what it means to have a whole different school system that actually meets the needs of each and every student.
Wow.
Because it doesn't do it right now.
Well, this has been so phenomenal. I told y'all, and I can't say anything more than what Dr. Kendra has said. But I wondered if you wanted to just leave our audience with, one closing thought about this concept that they can take away. What would you want them to take walk away?
I'll end with Vivian Griffin, because I opened with her. This is an honor to her, and she had those bags And in those bags, as much as they were the things, her prized possessions, there was something special about them, right? It was it was the peppermint to soothe my stomach. It was the tissues that I needed when I was crying because my feelings were hurt. Sometimes it was that saltine cracker. It was that dollar bill. uh, uh, it was that piece of paper where she wrote down the phone number or the address of something. So while our bags can hold weight that may not be in service to us, it also holds treasures that can actually get us to our place and to our purpose. It can actually be a healing place. So I don't want us to think that the whole bag that we have is a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
But can we find what's in that bag that gives us the hope? Is it the peppermint? So what is going to soothe the people around you? Is it the tissue? Where's the compassion in that bag? Is it a memory, something you jog down, that you wrote down that you don't want to forget, right? Is it that dollar bill? Is that the gift that you're going to give to someone? So know that that bag is also a sanctuary for the good things you carry. We just don't want them to be at the bottom. Bring them to the surface. And that's what I'll leave you with.
That's lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today on Lead Girl, the Be Well podcast. This discussion today reminds us that although the world often asks Black women to carry more, there's power in naming that weight, and even more power in releasing it. Our guest work says that our bags don't define us. And that is huge. That is so huge. They're not definable, but they show our strength. They show our story, and it's our capacity to rise and move forward. So I hope that as you, as our guests, move through your own journey and play this podcast back, because there was some very specific questions that Dr. Kendra left us with to really think about, to find some peace in that unpacking of our bags, and also to remember to see the beauty, the sanctuary in our bags. So thank you so much. Jocelyn?
Yes, so I want to thank everyone for listening to Lead Girl, the Be Well podcast, where we can amplify the voices of Black women in educational leadership. Be Well is a nonprofit organization that is open for membership for you to be served and serve. If you are a Black woman in education leadership, we are looking for you. So become a member or support us by visiting blackwomeneducationleaders.com and follow us on social media such as X, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Um,
Tune in for upcoming episodes on a variety of topics that are sure to be relevant to your personal growth and professional practice. We encourage and invite you to give us feedback or request to join our show. Email us at bewellpodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us on social media at leaders_Black. See you next time. Until then, lead, girl.
You better lead.
All right now. Love it.